All right, team. So, without further ado, this is a real pleasure to introduce to you Dee Boules. Dee, how
Hi,
are you,
how are
mate?
you? I'm
I'm
good. How
great.
are
How are
you?
you?
Good. So great to actually see you, even though it's not in person. But hopefully now the bubble's open, we can catch up
Yeah,
face to face very
yeah,
soon. But
yep.
awesome
No,
session so far. I've loved just listening to everyone talking this morning. So I've learnt a lot actually, which has been fantastic.
Awesome. Yeah. So for those who for unknown reasons have never heard of Dee Boules, Dee's been one of my longest standing supporters from the get go. So back in the early days of launching advanced safety, launching New Zealand health and safety professionals, Dee reached out from Aussie to say, "Hey, I really like what you're doing. This is really exciting." You were the first person to put your hand up to say, "I'm coming over to do your conference," which was in 2018. You were a keynote speaker here in Christchurch. We were so lucky to have
Yeah.
you. So Dee, before I take up all the time going on about how awesome you are, would you like to perhaps introduce yourself and let the audience know who
Gosh,
Dee Boules is?
thanks, Matt. I'm kind of blushing now with all of that that you've said, but thank you so much. And absolutely, I've loved watching you grow and develop over the years, and everything you've done for safety professionals in New Zealand and in Australia as well. Because I know you've sort of you come across here too and pop up in different things that I do as well. So it's fantastic. But so I am the founder and CEO of intrinsic Workplace Solutions. Sounds much more glamorous than it is. Very much like Matt. I think it's, hands on the ground, obviously doing lots of different things as well. So I've had the business for 9 years, actually celebrated 9 years this week. So it's been an amazing experience and achievement. And, I can't thank, I guess, the industry and community enough for allowing me that opportunity to be successful in this role. I'm a bit of a unicorn when it comes to safety in terms of my qualifications and skills. And I guess, I really do credit that to my career in safety. I started working in safety in 2003, coming out of the police and going into was Work Cover New South Wales back then, now Safe Work, as an inspector. And I guess it was during those early days I really become fascinated with, the human brain, how it works, why people do what they do, why do they make the decisions they make. And with that, I started studying psychology, neuroscience, change management, brain-based coaching, all of these different things, because I really wanted to understand how I could help organizations and individuals, lead and manage safety better, and considering that we're dealing with humans. And I think so many times we fall into the trap that we just don't really understand that the brain is so limited as well. So when we do anything, we really need to take that into consideration. So I started applying obviously everything I'd learned in my operational roles, and then since I've had the business, obviously helping individuals and organisations do that as well. So my passion these days, whilst I still do keep my hand in operational roles, and I'm actually sitting here today at one of my clients' sites, I do keep my hand in operational roles because I think that's really, really important. I spend a lot of my time working with safety professionals now as well, and helping them build their soft skills, and listening to obviously Michael talk and the other people talk this morning about the different skills that safety professionals need these days. It's great to hear that, and it's great to have those conversations with people, because sometimes I always think of us as we're kind of treated like used car salesmen sometimes. It's like we're trying to sell a product that people know that they need, but kind of go, oh, do I really need it? So it's, it's a tough gig sometimes. So it's about, teaching, I guess, safety professionals how to, negotiate influence, lead change. We wear so many hats these days, and, having those conversations, learning how to present is such a huge, big part of the role, which 10, 15 years ago it wasn't. As long as you knew your legislation, that was kind of it. But now I guess organisations are wanting more from us as well. And, and for us to be able to influence those boards and leadership teams and even employees, we need to engage with them. So I often think those soft skills are not by any means underestimating the importance of our formal qualifications, but I think those soft skills make up such a huge, big part of a safety professional's role these days. So, yeah.
Completely agree.
Yeah.
It's an interesting space. I mean, you mentioned that the fact that 10 years ago you could hide behind the legislation, have those checklists, tick those boxes, and say that we're compliant. job done. Now the demands and needs of our senior leaders has just, it increased tenfold, and as a result,
absolutely.
Our role, our profession has completely evolved, and I think even more so since COVID in a way, because now we're having to get familiar with new technologies and new threats. That was the reason why I brought on Hilary Walton is that information technology and the risk management around that. Suddenly, that's starting to fall onto our desks as well, and it's like, whoa, what
absolutely. And that session I absolutely loved, because like you, I'm sitting here going, gosh, all my stuff's in the cloud, passwords everywhere, and then so I'm writing down notes as well, going, because I have to admit I'm one of those people who usually uses the same password for everything because I'm hopeless at remembering things. So now password manager, that's on the list of things to do today. But I think you're right, like COVID has really flipped that safety role on its head as well. I think we've had to have a better understanding of that psychological safety as well. That's become a huge, big element that it was kind of bubbling under the surface before COVID, but I think COVID has really pushed it to the forefront as well. And organisations now, I'm not sure about over in New Zealand, but certainly in Australia now, it's coming around about people coming back to work and getting them back to the workplace, because everyone's got quite comfy working from home and having that work-life balance. So from a safety perspective as well, it's about how do we actually work with organisations to get them to understand that people do have that psychological need as well, and people are more in tune to their well-being as well because of COVID, I think, and having that time at home. So, and I certainly know I am as well. It's I think one of the it sounds really horrible saying one of the good things about COVID. It's probably not the right way to frame it, but I love seeing how everyone went back to the simple things in life. We went back to the basics. We actually took time for ourselves. Like in my neighbourhood, I met people walking around with their dogs and their kids that we'd never met because we're usually all travelling, commuting, working long hours. So that was a really good part of it, and I hope that part of it continues on as well.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. That's one of my memories is walking around the local neighborhood and the roads being deserted and people just literally just catching up on the middle of the road. It was like, wow, this is like what your traditional Sunday morning may have felt like. It's
exactly. It is. It's really neat.
Yeah, and I think you're absolutely right in terms of the health and well-being side of things. I think there's been a real sudden rise in awareness of how important that is and demand for it. And I think businesses at the moment perhaps are not necessarily meeting that need very well right now. And so clearly a bit of work needs to be done in that regard. I mean, in your space, like with the teams that you've got working with you, what are some of the other common themes or bits of worth sharing, do you think?
Look, I guess a couple of things, and if I look at it from sort of, I guess, that organisational perspective, one of the big things I'm seeing too from the way in which safety interacts with the business is changing as well. So I'm seeing a huge increase in the gig economy. So organisations are realising that they need lots of different skills at lots of different times in their safety journey too. So, where a safety professional might have gone into an organisation and was there for, 10 years or something like that before, I think now both safety professionals and organisations are realising that we all have our different skill sets, we all have our strengths, and, there's different skill sets required for different parts of that safety journey. So I'm seeing a huge increase in the gig economy for safety professionals. So with that, I'm also seeing, I guess, safety professionals starting to look at how can I actually be more appealing to organisations as well. And that's where, that upskilling and things like leading change, understanding, HR operational awareness as well, getting to really understand that business acumen of the business to make yourself, a better package for an organisation. So I think there's that flip as well. Certainly we're seeing in Australia, the focus is very much around psychological safety from a compliance perspective. Safe Work New South Wales has just released a code of practice in relation to that as well. But for me, I'm kind of seeing the biggest trend in, and how it's actually integrated into a business as well, and how it's seen as as a profession being a value add to the business. So this kind of, I guess I look at it a little bit differently than a lot of people. I don't just look at it from the safety, what do we do, hands on the ground in terms of safety and risk in the business, but as a profession, also how has that impacted and what do we need to do as a safety professional? Because I spend a lot of my time these days working with safety professionals, coaching and mentoring them on how they can actually, unlock their full potential and make them more appealing and more competitive in the market as well.
Yeah, amazing, and so needed right now too. The gig economy fascinates me. I mean, I'm actually just scribbling down notes as you're talking because it's just so valuable stuff. It's brilliant. Because for me, I mean, I feel like my business model has just been shaken up massively in recent times, just purely because the needs and demands of the business community have just shifted. Suddenly it's more than suitable to come in and just simply provide X number of hours per month, whereas before it was often come in, provide the solution, and you can bugger off, which was always a bit of a frustration for me because I knew that in most instances it wasn't really going to get anywhere. Whereas now actually the opportunity to embed and to make effective change is it's really very exciting times.
And I think with that, organisations have realised that their teams, can't do everything either. So they do need that extra support that can come in and fill those gaps for them and give them that little bit of extra support that they need when they need it as well. So, I'm finding exactly the same thing. Like, where I am today, it's coming in to support the team in actually understanding their culture, and because there's they've got a great safety team, but they're tied up doing the day-to-day stuff. So they don't get a chance to take a step back, have a look at it from that lens and actually see how they can actually improve things and try to get out of that reactive phase of managing safety as well.
Yeah, totally, totally.
Yeah.
And I'm afraid I'm keeping close eye on.
I know. That's all right. Time.
I know you're on the clock as well, so I'll respect that time too. But
absolutely
before we head away, like I'm really, really keen to catch up sometime soon. I think what you're doing in Aussie and obviously here in New Zealand as well is really, really interesting, and I'd love to explore that a little bit further because I just know that there'll be so many people here that would benefit from your insights and skills. So
absolutely. Well, I have to say, as soon as the bubble opened, I've bought a couple of tickets to New Zealand, so I'll be over there a couple of times in the next couple of months. So we'll catch up then.
Brilliant. All right, that sounds amazing.
Awesome.
All right, well,
no worries.
Thank you so much for your time. Okay,
thanks, Matt. See ya. Bye, everyone.
Bye.